Okay, so I want to talk this week about acceptance, which is something that I am personally working on very much as part of my kind of self-care 2025 initiative. But it comes up a lot in the pain literature as well as acceptance and commitment therapy, which has been shown to improve all kinds of syndromes that have chronic pain symptoms, improving both the actual experience of pain in terms of intensity of symptoms, but also quality of life, functional ability, and then, the kind of secondary symptoms that go along with chronic pain, like mood and anxiety and depression. So we know it's effective for pain. And, on a personal level, it's something that I've been really struggling with because the more that I sort of have been reading about the various areas of my life where I'm trying to improve myself, where I'm looking to build more self-compassion, more gratitude, and more awareness of myself and my body, everything points back to this idea of the suffering that comes when we try to resist the reality of what is happening. And I just feel like, given all of the turmoil in the world right now, resonates with me particularly deeply because I have always been a fighter and I have always believed since a young age that with sufficient will, anything is possible. That it is really that the difference between where I am today and where I want to be tomorrow is only a matter of effort. And that I think is rooted in a capitalistic mindset. And in the idea that your worth is tied to a transaction and or a productivity metric. And if you've been around this community for a while, you know that I feel really quite strongly that that is a dynamic that um, is a feeding ground for um, chronic illness in general and chronic stress in general, because it turns out that humans have intrinsic value regardless of what they produce in a day, and that all of those ideals came from a place that is really related to making rich people richer. And it doesn't really benefit the majority of us who are just trying to feel good and have enough and be happy. So, trying to unravel this desire to control the world from my identity has been extremely difficult. I really find it hard to accept that there is so much of my life and my health that cannot be controlled. I want the illusion of control. I mean, don't we all, right? We want to feel like if we just get up and take vitamin D every morning, nothing bad will happen to us. And certainly we can make choices, depending on your risk factors and what's going on in your history and your family's history. Like, certainly there are sometimes things that we can do that will eliminate risks, but we greatly disproportionately um, exaggerate the amount that we can really influence what is happening to us. So much of the life is chance, and so much of it is out of our control. And that's even more true in the world that we live in now compared to 100 years ago, where the world we live in now, if you think about, this is not a politics and economics show, right? This is a chronic pain Pilates studio. But if you think about the ways in which um, our everyday life has become influenced by global events in the past 100 years, when it used to be, before that, you would get your food from down the street, you would get your relationships were all within a very small kind of radius of distance. You had a very small selection of jobs, and most of what you bought was manufactured nearby because that was just how it is. Your health was only really affected by what was in your area, which in some ways was bad because if you had a factory and there was a lot of pollution, that would be bad. People who were working in mines got really sick. But now I can literally own a thing that's on the other side of the world and have it to me in a matter of days. And I am very directly impacted by global events that have nothing to do with me. Diseases, as we know, can travel very quickly because of air travel and so on. So we live in a different environment now. And so the idea that we could control somewhat our environment was probably true up until about 100 years ago. And so I do think there's probably a little bit of kind of unlearning we have to do just evolutionarily from what would have served us at that time to what serves us now. And what serves us now is not to try to control everything, but it's to learn how to have peace in the midst of chaos. Um, and so acceptance in the face of pain flare-ups can feel like, oh, you're just accepting defeat. You're just like allowing bad things to happen. You're just trying to be okay with the bad things that are happening. But the reality is, when we do somatic tracking in pain reprocessing therapy, a lot of what we're looking to do is actually find that sense of acceptance, to be able to note the sensations that are in the body and note them without judgment is a means of finding acceptance. And by noting the sensations and sort of recognizing the ways in which we are not in danger, we can start to kind of separate the sensation from the fear response, which leads to pain. So, acceptance really is fundamentally a big part of how we face chronic pain when it comes, especially as a flare up. And if the first response, which is a natural response, is fear, we are more likely to maintain the fear, the pain intensity or increase pain intensity, rather than if we were to try to cultivate a sense of acceptance. And there's lots of interesting research out there about how acceptance has been used to really help reorient a person's sense of their own body's value and their body image, and how that has also had positive impacts for pain. So I guess because I don't know how to do this yet for myself, I think I would only in this instance encourage you to just explore the ways in which maybe you are resisting what is happening in your life, and that resistance is causing a discomfort and a suffering. And is there a way to bring ease to what you're feeling by accepting what is happening in your body, and also turning to compassion for what is happening in your body and learning instead to care for yourself rather than to try to push through? So I'm sure we'll be talking about this again, but that's this week. I hope to hear from you and hear how things are going.